Hello, everyone, and welcome back to 1000 Gurus. Please welcome back my guest, Hazier Rios.
Hello. Good to be back. Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing today?
Yeah, so I heard your drive from SD was pretty gnarly today.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it was terrible.
405, is it?
Yeah, it was 405. So it's 805 to the 5 to the 405. And oh my God. There was really a lot of accidents today, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah. What
But
is I don't know if you normally drive up this way, but like, what is the normal time and then what was today? Just to give some anxiety to our audience.
so, yeah, the normal time we were projected to only be like two hours and 20 minutes, but then it ended up being like 3 hours. Yeah, maybe a little bit more, like 3 hours and 15.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're going to Vegas at that point.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
It's
and we're almost there. We're
Yeah.
almost there.
It's probably
Yeah,
because it's just like it's a Friday. I don't know where people are going. They're going so fast, they're getting into accidents.
yeah. And when school is ending
School.
too,
Oh,
so
school.
everyone, I guess, is way too excited. I don't know. We had a lot of people cut us off today too.
Ah,
Yeah,
it's crazy, crazy.
crazy day, but we're good. We made it, and we're here right now.
Yeah.
Good to be
Excited.
here.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to have you back. So yeah, your episode came out recently, episode number 33, your lucky number as well.
Yes, my favorite
It
number.
was one of my favorite episodes. I probably say that about all my episodes, but I really enjoyed it. I think
Appreciate
I
it.
was talking to a friend of mine. I told him that some of my favorite guests are teachers or some
Mm,
teachers in a capacity because I feel like teachers are my ideal guests, at least historically, because they're more thoughtful. They transfer their own ideas and reflections to
mhm.
students or in whatever capacity they're doing, dance teachers, like educational field, whatever. And so I think you're no exception to that. I think your answers are really insightful and it kind of made me think about things and hopefully the audience feels the same way. Um
Appreciate that. That makes
yeah.
sense though. Yeah.
Yeah. And so this episode for part two, like you said, it's going to be a lot easier. We also don't have rapid fire questions. But what have you been up to since then? Any updates, life updates?
Let's see. Well, we're gonna go we're going to Mexico and
Mm,
like over the summer.
nice.
Yeah, it's gonna be really fun. Me and Vanessa. But I start my master's program for psychology in the fall, so that's gonna be really fun.
September, October?
October.
October.
Yeah. Or I guess like very last day of September. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think on the 29th. Yeah. But let's see what else, man. It's just, and then I just finished the school year. Like literally today was my
Mm,
last day, and then I
nice.
zoomed over
Yeah,
here
yeah,
right
yeah.
after. Yeah, it was. I mean, a lot of students were there. I had 10 students total today,
Mm,
so that was wow. That's way less than what I'm used to.
yeah,
It was nice seeing all the staff again and some of the students that were there
yeah.
saying farewell. And yeah, no, it was. It's been really nice past few months since we last spoke.
Mm.
Yeah.
I had a question. Has anyone, friends, family, students, listened to the episode and said anything about that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I got a few DMs actually that they listened to it. People that I didn't even know they would listen to it. Like
Mm,
some of my homies,
mhm,
they're my friends, and I would never expect them to go out of their way and listen to a podcast. But they would send me a text randomly or DM me on Instagram, like, dude, the podcast was fire, man. I'm like, wait, what? You listened to it? I had no idea. Because I like to share stuff out there, and I would assume like probably my students would see it first and then maybe my family too, and they did. But the fact that my own friends saw it and they
mm,
they supported me on it, I thought that was really amazing to see. Because yeah, that doesn't really happen too often.
mm.
At least in I guess in all fields, like it's family first that like supports you on something, and then friends maybe if that's the case. But yeah, no, I was pleasantly surprised.
Were there
Yeah.
any parts that anyone called out, like, "Oh, this part in particular, I thought that was really cool," or any sections, or any parts that you were surprised on, or you're like, "Oh, wow, I said that? Like, that was kind of cool," or that was a fun topic?
Yeah. So one of them was the clip of being a younger teacher. That they didn't really consider the fact that, oh yeah, people would perceive you differently that you're younger, and they would take advantage of that. So they were interested to see like how I even navigated that to begin with. And then the other one, what was the? Oh, it was when I briefly mentioned about communication and social relationships, how you should approach it as if you're writing an essay. Have an intro, just preface what you're going to talk about. I almost forgot that I said that, because when it came out, I didn't watch the whole thing yet. It was like the day after I watched it, but one of my friends watched it the first day, and he texted me that. I'm like, I loved how you talk about that communication. I'm like, oh yeah, I did talk about that.
Mhm.
That was really fun. Yeah, that was and it's really important to me. So I'm glad that I got the message across effectively, because I remember I was kind of fast on that one too.
Mm,
So no, it was a great experience. Again, thank you for
nice.
having me
Yeah,
on.
of course.
It's an honor, honestly.
Yeah, I had the same experience. Well, I mean, I do consistently where it's like I'll listen to it again and I'm like, oh, wait, that was kind of cool. Or like,
Yeah,
I like
yeah.
that idea. Like, I didn't even know I said that. Sometimes you're in the moment.
Hmm.
And then in retrospect, when you listen to it again, you're like, oh, that was a really good. Or even my guess, especially, I'm kind of locked in and listening and responding. But
Hmm.
when I can listen to it as a third party, I'm like,
Hmm.
wait, that was a really good point.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I was just curious if you had similar experiences.
Yeah, I did. And there's some parts where I'm like, man, I could have said
Of
so much more
course.
on this.
Exactly.
Like I was,
Exactly.
yeah, I can be a little tough on myself. I mean, like all of us are,
Of
but yeah,
course.
but that's why I'm back.
Yeah.
I just have more to say.
Yeah, of course, and that's why we're happy to have you back, and that's what we're gonna try to do
Yeah, yeah,
with the time that
appreciate
we
it.
have.
Hmm.
So, now that we got out of the way, so we'll jump into the topics. The first one, we'll see where we go with this. These are kind of half freestyle, but
Hmm.
talent management and then also education. So, just really quickly, like, would you like to clarify on what you mean by like talent management?
Oh yeah, something I started getting into more officially recently. I've been kind of just doing it more freelance as of late, but or before, but now recently I started getting involved in like professional talent agencies where I go out and find influencers to collaborate with, find brand deals with them, and how to um, expand their brand. So, for instance, let's say you're an influencer with like 10,000 followers, and let's say you're a dance influencer, and so I would look at your content and you're really curious as to like how can I make this content like I would love to do this for the rest of my life. How can we expand on this? Okay. Then I would strategize with the creators, being like, okay, do you want to go into the industry? Do you want to mostly kind of do your own thing on social media? Do you want to be a teacher? Do you want to you we strategize together and we create a plan as to what it means to grow and how to effectively grow. And it's been such a wonderful journey because I've been doing it, I guess, without knowing it, but with my girlfriend on her social media and her influencing journey or creator journey. Um, and we've been working together incredibly well. I never thought we'd enter a business together. We talked about like, oh, it'd be cool if we started a business together. And the more we started, or she started making content, the more I started getting involved. And especially on the back end of things, like looking over contracts, negotiating with brands, branching out to other platforms, and then strategizing the content there. Like, oh, wait, I'm kind of doing the whole talent
Mhm.
management thing. So that made me realize, oh, I would love to absolutely do this with all kinds of people. And in the past few months, I've also been in talks with a few influencers already and helping them on their content. And it's been such a wonderful journey because it's like I get to grow with all of these wonderful creators. And as much as I like talking and being on camera sometimes, I love to just to grow on the back end of things. You know, I want to be a part of all of these different works of art and expressions, or if I believe in a person's content and I like it, I I would love to just be a part of the process to watch them grow on their journey and help them grow on their journey.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's cool. So it feels like it seems like you realize you have that skill set and desire to do that. You're like, oh, this is kind of fun actually, like helping to organize and the administrative side of a
Hmm.
business like a talent agent does for the
Exactly.
creator. That's cool.
Yeah, and I have my girlfriend to thank for that too.
Yeah. And then you have a good leeway to like, work with your girlfriend and do
Hmm.
more stuff with her.
Yeah.
Okay, so in terms of education, so now this is the big opener question, but what do you think
Yes.
that we've missed that you feel like we could talk about and elaborate further on this episode?
So I believe we missed more talking about what education is missing. So I remember I did touch on like we need to connect it more to like real life yeah, issues or just real life connection for a lot of the students, and then that way it can click for them. But it's also where I believe we're missing a lot of um how do I say this? I want to talk about this a little bit later too, but it makes sense now. Like social relationship building, like classes on actual how to, not for lack of better words, like behave in a relationship, whether it's friendship, family, or even romantic, but just the idea of what is effective communication between one another. Like from you to another human being, especially if that human being like matters to you. What does that communication look like? What is it supposed to look like? And also being able to tell yourself like, hey, you can like look at yourself and work on yourself as well. It doesn't have to be this way forever. And I've just been seeing a very strong rise of what we like to call toxic relationships. right? And it's always just like, where do they even come from? Like, how does it even happen? No one really, or I don't want to say no one knows why, but no one stops and thinks, what is causing this relationship to absolutely fall apart? Is it you? Is it me? Or is it just us together? We can actually go deep into that and teach that, because there's layers that go into this. It can be, I'm sure you probably heard, like, it could be like, family trauma, or it can be just the way you were taught what love is supposed to be as a young child. Whether that's, and this is why I want to touch on it later, but whether it's through your parents or through the media nowadays as well. So, and it's so bizarre to me that relationships is arguably like the most important aspect of life, but we never talk about it. Like, we never teach it. It's like, your parents will teach you that. That's all on your parents. They got you. But what if our parents work like two jobs and like they're busy, or like they're so busy trying to make sure we eat, make sure we get to our practice, make sure we're getting good grades, And it's hard for them to, like, okay, now let me also teach you everything I know about relationships. Because wait, but who taught them? And it's like, what if they were taught incredibly wrong? And same thing with parenting. And like, parenting is so hard, man. Like, I
And
can
there's
only
no guidebook.
exactly. There's no guidebook. And like, you have to go out of your way and buy it and read it. But then it's like, who wants to do that? I'll just wing it. Right. But imagine if our parents, and me as a potential future parent, like, I would love to be a parent, um, were actually had guidance sooner rather than later. Imagine how much more effective in communicating my emotions and teaching a young child how to navigate the world more effectively and with love and with kindness. Not because when we're frustrated and we don't know what to do, we might make mistakes, and really, really bad mistakes that might affect the child when they grow up. So imagine a world in which we actually took the time and put resources into educating the masses on, here's how you can effectively talk to each other. Here's how you can effectively guide each other towards a better future. That's like the very broad way of putting it. But it's just, yeah, my parents weren't taught how to be good parents. So, yeah, they're going to make mistakes. I wasn't taught how to be, a good person in a friendship or a relationship. So I'm going to make some pretty bad mistakes too. And we're going to learn the hard way. And something I've been talking about with my friends recently, it's like, I realize education is just one of the biggest ways we can learn things not the hard way anymore. We don't have to do trial and
Messing
error.
up and hurting people.
Exactly,
Mm.
because we have the knowledge. We just haven't been able to share it effectively at an early enough stage. Because I learned so much about relationship building and what it means to be, like, I guess, a better person in relationships, and and parenting, because I took child development in college. I'm already 20 years old at this point, 19. And this is because I went out of my way and I'm in debt just to learn this information. Most people wouldn't do that, and I don't blame them either. So that's something I truly want to be one of my missions in life, to change in that curriculum and whatever that may look like. Because
Yeah.
right now I'm just, this is more of the brainstorm of it, and realizing this is an issue I think I could help solve. Yeah.
It's like looking forward, like, okay, I'm gonna get my master's program and then see what we do from there. But
Hmm.
this is kind of like the long term goal or vision.
Exactly. Especially because I've been in the
Yeah.
education. I talk to the students. They tell me all kinds of wild things. And I'm like, it shouldn't have to be this way.
Mhm.
There should be more resources and guidance to help you all, both you and your families. So,
So I agree with you. Now let me push back
mhm,
because the resources are out there, like you said, and
mhm,
maybe if it were more in the curriculum, it might be easier for these students to have a little bit more, let's say, not easier lives. You know what I mean? Like they can tackle those challenges a little bit better if
mhm,
they have the resources and the guidance in our education system, right? But the one of the things that I feel like is difficult is like I have friends as well who are younger and they could hear the advice, but then they don't apply it or they're not in the right mindset to learn it until they make the mistakes.
correct.
So sometimes it's like, okay, I could give you all the advice you want, but if you're not, I have this conversation with my friends. I'm like, I know you might not understand it, or you might not implement it, or you understand it, but you can't put it into practice because you haven't touched the hot stove yet.
Hmm.
And they inherently know that. and it's like you're gonna do whatever you want in terms of relationships or dating or whatever.
Mhm.
Here's my 2 cents, but you need to make your own, so you need to do it. And so on a that's a micro level, but on a macro level, I can imagine there's maybe similar people who are like, yes, mom, yes, dad, I know that, yes, teacher, I know this,
Mhm.
but they still touch the hot stove.
Right.
And then it's like, well, okay, I guess you did need to learn it the hard way. So I guess that's my question is maybe our education system gets better, but there will still be people who won't really internalize it until they make it
Cor-
mistakes.
Correct. You're absolutely right. And my and well, education, at least in school too, because it's not like, let's say you learn math and then you're gonna forget about it and not apply until like, oh wait, I actually should know this. Let me brush up on that. It's like, well, at least the opportunity is there for you to learn. So I'd rather like know about, I don't know, let's say, um, oh, here's a really good personal example, and then we could apply this on as to any other issue that might happen to someone. But let's say, oh, why did I stop wanting to practice Spanish? Like, why? Why did I do that? I'm like, I guess I just won't think about it. But or I learned in college and I learned in psychology. Oh, like there's something called rejection trauma. So whatever it was that you were rejected for, you tend to avoid it. It's like, oh, because when I came to this country, I didn't know English and I got bullied for it. So I want to avoid my association with Spanish speaking as much as I can. It's like, oh, now I knew that because I learned this and I can make that connection. But if I just never made that connection, then I would just never know. And it's like, oh, that's just the way I am. But at least, and for those that you mentioned, oh, but they have to touch the hot stove. It's like, okay, once you touch the hot stove, the education seeks in even harder now.
Because they have there's context now with what they learn, not necessarily just
Exactly.
learning it. Mhm.
Yeah, so I feel like it just
Still
doubles
helps.
down exactly. If anything, all it can do is help you. You can take it, you cannot take it. Once it happens to you, you'll really take it in now. Especially like when you know your mom was right about something, you're like, "Ah, damn it." Sorry, excuse my language. But I was like, "Damn it. She's right." And that sinks even harder in your soul. Like, now I'm never gonna forget that because I hate when people tell me I told you so, right? Especially mom. Like, damn, she's right about everything, you know? Yeah. So that's my argument for that as well. I believe we should have it available to everyone. And in terms of like when they should learn it, that's up for debate. Should it be middle school or high school? I don't think elementary, but like middle school or high school, or should it be when in high school, junior? Like that's up for debate still. I'll learn in my doctoral program for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah,
Cool. What about social relationships? That's kind of like the next topic,
right.
but what do you think we missed about that? I know you're talking about communication, talking about education. Anything else you feel like you want to elaborate on?
You know, there definitely was. Give me 1 second.
Yeah,
There
no worries.
definitely was. Oh, we started talking about education. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Another one could be like, what type of other, I know you're big into relationships and
Uh,
communication. Do you think there are other things in the education system that we're missing? I had a friend on recently to talk about finances and taxes, and obviously it's applicable to everyone. So it's
oh
communication.
yeah. I mean, if you want to speak education, it's just I've seen the change with a lot of teachers, and this is just a really strong observation I've made in the past 3 years. It's just I've seen over time, like in the beginning, even because there's teachers I know that are still teaching from when I was like middle school, high school, and I saw them again, and it's great, and I think they're absolutely wonderful. But I noticed with other teachers as well, not just the ones that I experienced with, over time they were like in the beginning, they're like super passionate. They loved it. They have so much joy every day. They were my favorite teachers. Then over time, and then I asked students like, "Oh, what do you think about this teacher?" "Oh no." I'm like, "What? What do you mean? Oh no? They're aren't they amazing?" Like, "Oh no, they're super strict. Like they barely teach. Like they're super strict." I'm like, "What are you talking about? No way this is true. Like I can't believe it." But I've come to realize when you're in a system, especially like public education is always tough. Like, and I'm sure you know, and I'm sure everyone has heard this. Like, we need to raise teachers' salaries. We need to treat teachers better. And you hear that all the time. But what is actually happening? Are we raising teacher salaries? Not really. Not as much as we should, especially like I'm just focused on like Southern California pay. I don't know how it is in the other states. I'm sure maybe it's worse. But in terms of what teachers make, especially the first few years, it is heartbreaking. Like there's teachers that can't afford to live in a home by themselves. They still have to live with family for years and years and years until they can finally move out, and they still have to pay for their own supplies. Like I I can't believe that. Like they still have to take research. Oh my gosh. Oh my god, I just clicked the memory. So I was at a teacher meeting, and it was a department for the social science meeting. The entire department.
Mm.
And they're like, "All right, our budget this year for materials is $300." I'm like, "Okay, I mean,
Total.
$300 each, that doesn't sound too bad." And they're like, "No, that's the total." I'm like, "What?"
Everyone gets one eraser.
Yeah,
That is
exactly.
it.
I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
And they make a joke. It was like, "All right, guys, we get to splurge." Like, what? I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe I was like, "No, this can't be reality. This can't be." There's at least like 12 of us in the room. 12 for 12 different teachers, and there's like around 130 to 140 students per teacher. Like $300 total. I couldn't believe it. So it's stuff like that where it makes you realize like it's so hard to get a good quality of education, super passionate teachers that stay passionate if they're constantly treated like, just keep pouring your own investment and financials into this job. And it should be just based on passion. Like, no, I should be financially stable because we also take it home. And it doesn't stop there. There's also parent teacher meetings. You have to worry about like administration, if there's any administration changes. And then they also like force certain teachers to teach the subject because there's not enough teachers again this year. And it's so much that teachers have to deal with all the time and keeping track of like 140 students per year, knowing why they're messing up and why they're excelling, what you could do better. And then, gosh, I could go on and on. But at the end of the day, it's just our education system really needs help. And every time a student tries to give like a teacher a hard time, or they tell me like, dang, they're just like always mad and like always this, and I'm like, try to give them grace
Mm.
because you never know what a teacher's going through, especially when they talk about the teachers I loved. I'm like, I'm pretty sure it's not because they hate you or anything.
Yeah.
They're probably going
You're
through
just
something.
like beaten down over the years.
Exactly. And it's just like that shouldn't be the case. Like and I don't I need to do more research on this, but it's just like, is this strongly like an American thing? Because I don't think I've heard like from other countries where it's like, oh yeah, teachers are pretty much broke. Like that's the that's the idea. Like whenever I hear and like someone hears I'm a teacher, they're like, oh bless your soul. Like I don't want to feel that way.
Wow, you work for a nonprofit? That's
Yeah,
crazy. That's
exactly.
crazy.
Like, oh, you must have such a good heart. Now, like, impressive. Wow, you're teaching the next generation. You must have a lot of good skills. Like, it's like, oh, like, and like, I guess I can see where they're coming from. But at the end of the day, it's like, no, this is being a teacher is difficult, and it takes a lot of skills and patience, and gosh, there's so much. And so, to anyone hearing this, especially if you're a student, please give teachers a break a little bit.
Slack, yeah.
Cut us some slack, and I promise you, if you get to know your teacher a little bit better, for the most part, chances are they'll treat you with, you know, with the same amount of respect. It goes both ways. But
I love it.
yeah, that's I'll touch on that for now for education. I know we're short on time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
shout out to the teachers.
shout out to the teachers for real.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, this is kind of related, I guess, but now let's go to state of the media.
Okay,
So I know
yes.
you mentioned like movies, music, social media, and how
Mhm.
that affects us. My general questions were kind of like what is the state of the media? How
Mhm.
does it affect you on an individual level, societal level? But did you have any thoughts on how you want to open it?
So actually, whoa, I'm so glad you asked that.
Mm.
Because this kind of ties in a little bit more into education too. But it's just like with the state of media, what it is today. It's just And I remember I used to look back and like, is it because I was younger and I was a kid and I just like really liked everything? Is that why? But genuinely, it seems like art or originality has been like not slightly, like extremely, like kind of dwindling down, especially like the big movie blockbuster level. Like we see a lot of sequels, a lot of prequels, a lot of spin-offs, no really new IPs, no
Nostalgia too.
exactly, all nostalgia farming, really. There's no new risk, except with exceptions like Sinners, right? And there's other exceptions out there, but a majority of what we see nowadays, and it's not just movies, it's music as well. Like you'll hear some songs, you're like, why does this sound like songs I've heard before, you know, like all the time.
because of money.
Exactly, because it's safe and it's because of money and because everything's getting corporatized and bland. And I'm like, is that the only reason? And I could argue that's a really major factor, but I've also started realizing in our schools, there's no big emphasis on the arts. Even going to college, it's like, you're going to be an art major? Waste. Like, I hear that all the time and it breaks my heart. I'm like, no, 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 no. It's possible to be an art major and be successful. Maybe do art major in STEM to make your parents happy or something, right? But there's always a way. And like, I look at affluent schools in my district, they have the nicest football fields, the nicest gyms, the nicest laboratories, but their stage hasn't been renovated in like 10, 15 years. I'm like, what? What's happening there? They can't find an art teacher. They can't find the funds for anything art related. But when it comes to STEM and sports, it's like, take my money, right?
Question for you. So
Yes.
you're talking about like not a lot of emphasis or money or whatever in art, but you're also saying that current media is just kind of more generic and non-original. How
Correct.
do you connect
So, oh, sorry.
like people are doing art,
Mhm.
but obviously it's not original art.
Exactly. Because I think art in general, we stop prioritizing it as much as I believe we might have used to because now it's like a hyper fixation on STEM. And it's, I mean, even with the humanities too, it's like, what, you're going to study humanities? Anyway, but with art in particular, like it's almost a running gag. Like, oh, you're an art major. You're not going to be successful. You're going to be broke. But, and that has just been all over like young people's minds. Those young people are a bit older now. And it's harder to break into the industry too than ever before. And you have to be extremely dedicated to your craft. It's so much harder to be dedicated when you have the entire world saying, "Hey, this is a waste of time." And that's again, I'm not saying this is the main factor, but I believe this also plays such a major role as to like why the state of the media today, when especially movies and music. I'll touch on social media in a second, but like movies and music in particular have been kind of taking a dip, whether it's because of corporations or it's because we stop cheering on people aspiring to be artists
So
at especially at a young stage.
so there's like a less pool of artists that would
Yes.
be if we emphasize arts as something important to our society.
Correct. Because that person that was so excited to be an artist probably had their dream shattered more than once as they were going up and moving up in the world, growing up, and now they're in their 20s and they have to work a corporate job because that's the way you were supposed to do it. It's like at that point, how do you reignite that passion again? They have to go out of their way. They have to hopefully have some sort of encouragement from someone else or from themselves. But at that point, it's so much harder. And it's we're begging our society to have more computer science, more engineering. We're doing that. And actually, there's actually been a recent article published talking about like we actually have an oversaturation of computer science majors now. Like it's and that's newer because that's what we've been pushing in the last 5 or 6 years or so. So both again, both corporations and us not really encouraging people to express themselves through art has caused this kind of generic and bland feel. At least for me, like I just remember every 2, 3 months there was just like an amazing film to watch, an amazing show to talk about, wonderful music, like all kinds of me. I'll never forget when I was younger too. Back in my day, I know, right? But it's I'll remember when we all listened to Linkin Park, we all listened to Taylor Swift, we all listened to Metallica, we all listened to Kendrick and Drake. Like everyone listened to all of these different genres across the board. Who are the same people that are kind of taking over the industry still? It's Drake. It's Kendrick. It's Taylor Swift. It's the same people we've seen for years and years and years. And it's I strongly believe a big part of that is because we've been dwindling that pool of like potential big breakout artists and just making it harder for people to become artists. And again, corporations, but that's yeah.
So how do you think that we change that? Because I guess my perspective, and then I'll like your thoughts on that,
Yeah, yeah.
is America and slash, the democratized capitalistic societies,
Oh yeah.
we prioritize what makes money. That and then we removed
Playing
ethics
it
since like
safe.
the 60s, right?
Mhm.
It's like our form of capitalism is now capitalism without ethics, meaning whatever makes the most money. That's why we have mass layoffs, etc. If we
Correct.
had ethics, we wouldn't do mass layoffs. So with that in mind, I would say every industry that makes money, entertainment included, and art,
Mhm.
is fueled by that desire to have a return on investment to make money.
Mhm.
And like you're saying to the point, which is these safe, sort of non-original, less risky things are being put on this pedestal because it makes more money and it fuels that system.
Mhm.
So then how do you de-incentivize money from a capitalistic society so that they now prioritize original art?
Yeah, that's extremely tough because yeah, we are incredibly a for-profit country, and if they can cut corners and they can guarantee results no matter what, they will take that. To incentivize that, hmm,
I mean, maybe that's a leading question, but I
yeah,
guess my question is like, how do we get out of it? Because the system is built this way. This is
right.
it's by design. This is where it's leading to, and it's where it's led.
Well, a lot of it has to do with like allowing monopolies to happen,
That
right?
too.
Because you have like these big corporations, like what is it? I forget. It's like a grocery store, because of Kroger's, they own like almost
Oh
all the
right,
grocery stores,
yeah.
and same thing with like banks. They're all
Same
owned by the
song,
same.
second verse.
Yeah, it's the same thing with like the music industry. It's like three big music labels that own pretty much everyone that's huge.
Mhm.
It's because we kept allowing that to happen, which it makes it harder for artists to come in, which is how like corporations are ruining everything. Because the same thing in movies, same things in music. So monopolies are pretty much illegal. They're technically illegal, but
Technically,
nothing's
but
happening.
if you have enough money, you can always change the system.
Exactly. And so it really, and I'm glad you bring this up because it's something we should also try to learn in education, but there's a strong reason why we don't learn any of this. But all of our problems are, and when I say problems, like when we talk about state of the media or if we talk about anything else that's going on, most of it, 99% of the time, is a top down issue rather than a bottom up. So, for instance, like how you mentioned, it's like, well, our country's designed this way. That's why we're seeing all these corporations make it super hard for people to even break into the industries. True, that's a top down issue. Meanwhile, a lot of people, and even I put a little bit of blame on it too. It's like we think it's a bottom up issue. It's because as a culture, we're prioritizing the wrong things. When, yeah, at the end of the day, it is majority of the time a top down issue. It's more of a government issue. And gosh, what do we have time to talk about government right now? Is there enough time?
Yeah, yeah. So I'll put a little crossroads right now.
Uh-huh.
So we can either continue on education or the social media kind of media state of the media. But the next topic is love, peace and happiness, finding
Oh.
love, and all this stuff. So where do you want to go?
Oh
You want to stay
gosh.
on this topic, or you want to move on?
Complete opposites.
Yeah, exactly.
Love and peace or chaos.
Chaos, government, money,
Chaos, government, and that-
or any other thoughts to wrap it up?
I'd say let's go government a little bit. Let's
Okay,
go
go
government a
ahead.
little bit. So maybe not. I feel like there's not enough time to talk about that. Okay, okay.
Okay.
So just the biggest thing. My biggest issue is like, how can you fix all these government issues? Well, number one, d- do you know that what the term limit is for someone to be in Congress for? Because like a president, it's like 2 terms, right? Do you know what the term limit is for someone in Congress?
Isn't it longer?
It is longer. Yes.
Is it? Wait, 8? 8 years?
There's no limit.
Oh, okay, never mind.
There's no
Wait for what
limit.
for House and Senate?
I for House for sure. I think it's for both. I'm
Oh,
pretty
I'm
sure.
sorry. I'm mistaking what's it called? The
Oh, to go for reelection.
re-election. Yeah. So you
Well,
say you can always go up for
you can just
re-election,
always
but
get
how long is the
reelected.
term?
2 years, I believe.
Okay, I
Yeah.
think that's what I was thinking of.
That's what you think of. Yeah.
Gotcha.
No, so and I love asking this to everyone because it's always like, oh, it's longer. It's probably like 4 terms or 6. No,
Mm,
there is none.
mm.
And that blew my mind when I learned that there's people that have been in Congress for 40
Yeah,
years.
the incumbents, like the power of like
Yeah.
staying in. Mhm.
The average age of someone in Congress is like 62. The average, I'm like, what? Wait, hold on. How do these people know what our lives are like today if they've been in power for so long? Like that. And I guess our founding fathers like, oh, who would want to be in Congress for that long? It's boring to be in here for that long. And no, they did it. And that's part of the reason, and not part of the reason, one of the main reasons why nothing really ever changes. Because how if you have the same people in power, all of a sudden they're just gonna want different things? Not necessarily. And that's something that I would love to explore, but I don't know enough about like what you can do in the
That
government
was
to
my
make that change happen.
that was my question. Is like,
Yeah.
okay, so we know there's a lot of problems. Anyone who
Yes.
turns on the news sees there's problems.
Yeah.
But what can we do on an individual level for the sake of this conversation?
Yeah. And what I've just learned for myself at my level is just like if you don't have enough money, at least what you could do is spread information and be more aware because then it's also Oh, really, really interesting observation I've had over the years, especially ever since 2020. Because 2020, I mean, riots, a lot of turmoil, really polarizing time. I mean, right now it's polarizing too. But what I've noticed is comparing, like, because a lot of people would compare it to like the civil rights movement, because yeah, we are fighting for our rights again. And what's interesting though is there's no like direct leader as there was before.
Direct leader for like a progressive movement?
Yeah, for like a progressive movement. Like, yes, we have like what I hear is like AOC, and Bernie Sanders. However, there's no like common person kind of leading the charge at like every major protest, like in the front. Like, for instance, I always think of like Malcolm X or Martin Luther King. We don't have that. And it's like, wait, why don't we? Oh, it's really scary to do that nowadays. It's really scary. I'm gonna be
You
honest.
don't wanna put your life on the line and
Exactly,
get
because it's like
assassinated?
they all got assassinated. So it's like, oh my god,
People learn their lessons.
it's no wonder. Yeah, and it's no wonder we all can't be unified, because if you have a leader, we can actually organize and we can unify, and they just don't want to do that because it's scary. I remember I'm like, when I was when 2020 or 2021 was happening, it's like, when I'm a bit older, I'm gonna do it. But then I'm like, oh wait, no, that's really scary.
Self-preservation is strong.
Yeah, exactly. Or even like there's stories of like people's bank accounts getting frozen, and then obviously illegal deportations happening against citizens, against students here on student visas because they publish articles. It's getting really really scary. So what I genuinely think we need is a leader. However, how do we actually get that? Because it's absolutely terrifying, especially with all the information
Yeah.
that goes around nowadays. So I would love to see a change in this country, and I do believe America always has a chance to change for the better, because we have not too long ago. Um, I guess depending on what you define long ago as, but like we have done progress, and it's achievable and it's possible. But for me, where I am now, it's just I'm like you. I don't know exactly what we need to do, but I do believe we need a leader.
Yeah. It's a good one. All right, Hazi, maybe we move forward and then we'll pick this up next time. We'll be able to
Yeah.
have a political, politics, government
Yeah,
talk
yeah,
because this is
maybe.
fun.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, let's move on to love and peace.
Yeah, love and peace.
So
That's another good note.
here's my brainstorm questions, but we can always take it away. It's
Yeah.
somewhere different. So like, what has your journey been like in regards to love, finding it, lessons learned? And I have some quotes and like, what's the difference between peace and joy? How does one find it? Like
Peace and
philosophical
joy.
things. I don't know if you had another spin
Yeah.
you wanted to take on it, but those are my ideas.
So what was the first part?
It was basically like for love, right? So how has your journey been like in regards to love?
In regards to love. So
I know love is like you can look at it 10 different ways, but
yeah, it was just something I had a long time wrapping my head around, because I didn't know what love genuinely looked like. Like, yes, I had
what is
like
love though? Like how do you define what love is? Cuz there's like 10 different definitions of love.
10 different. Okay. No, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
So at least for me, it's just, oh, man, because there's romantic love and
Right.
there's familial
Right.
love, right? But love in general is just like, wow, that's a great question. Because there's so many ways, like you said, there's
Exactly.
like 10 different definitions. But I would define for now it as like a bond in which you believe in, and that you would almost do anything for. And then unconditional love is like you would do absolutely anything for it, because you believe in that bond that you created with this person. And that's like the most general description, because that applies to family, romantic, and friends as well. It's like I believe so much in my friendship bond that like if they need me for anything, hey, I got you. And I know if something happens with me, they'll be there for me too. And I know that I have faith in this bond, that when I'm with this person, or when I'm with my mother or my father or whoever it is, I love them and I know we're gonna have a good time together. And even if we have an argument of some sort and there's negativity, I believe in our bond so much that I'm willing to work through it with them.
Mhm.
So that's, yeah, I guess belief in that bond.
So then what what has changed for your perspective on love or some lessons you learned? Because I know again, love is a big topic, but
Yeah, so
what's on your mind?
before it was like kind of like toxic positivity
Mm,
almost. So it was to me, you love someone and it's only good if it's true love. Like to me, true love was like it's always just gonna be great. You're always just gonna figure it out, whatever that means. But if there was like a really big issue, and especially if like maybe that issue was my fault, I'm like, wow, I guess I don't love this person because
Mm.
I made a mistake with them. And definitely not the right way to approach that with that mindset. So I learned the hard way too, because then it's like, man, why can't I maintain my relationships? Like, what is going on? But it's because of, for lack of better words, that toxic mindset I had towards love. And it was a very positive toxic mindset I had, which is
Like a perfectionist sort of view of
exactly.
love.
Yeah, like it needs to be amazing. It needs to be like everything I've seen in the movies. It needs to be perfect because I don't want to end up like other couples I had seen. So that's along the way I had to learn like, wait, let me navigate this with more effort and actually be okay if something goes wrong. If make a mistake, give myself some grace and
Mm.
actually talk to myself like, okay, let's actually figure out why this happened.
Mm.
Yeah,
Like love isn't perfect, but it's something that requires effort and it's nuanced.
absolutely.
So what about peace? Like I don't know if that's similar or different, but what did you mean by peace?
I'd say different. So when I mean by peace, it's just I started realizing like I constantly had a lot of disorganization in my brain or like more chaotic energy in my brain. And I just felt like something's always gonna go wrong. Something's always gonna go wrong. And it's one, it had to do with like the amount of people I chose to surround myself with. And I'm like, this isn't peaceful if I'm catering to all of these people all the time. And it's also just wanting to do as much as possible with my life because I felt like, oh no, I'm not good enough. I got to do more, 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 more. Then I realized, okay, this is way too chaotic. How can I quiet down all this chaos? How do I choose peace? Like, and I was like, peace? What am I, like a monk? Like, what am I doing? Right. But it's genuinely, I started looking into like, what does peace actually mean? Like, well, has it ever been quiet in your head? Have you ever like taken the time and just like lived in the moment, like being present? Like, what being present? What does that even mean? And it means I'm not thinking about, oh, what am I going to do tomorrow, next week? Oh, I have to make all these plans, or think about all the mistakes you did in the past, or trying to just focus on, man, I just wish I could go back. Like, no, what is happening in your life right now? Slow down. And I learned this technique from one of my really, really good friends from college, but he was just like, dude, whenever you feel like it's way too much, you're feeling extremely overwhelmed, just like feel the area around you, like ground yourself. I was
Mm.
like, oh, ground myself. Okay, let me try
Like
that.
physically.
Physically ground myself
Mm.
first. And then eventually it led to mentally. I was like, oh, if I could physically connect with just like the present environment, eventually I could mentally do it as well. And then I started doing a lot of yoga. I started meditating. And when I mentioned previously, I started doing a lot of walks. That for me helped me just to really recollect and organize my brain into a more peaceful brain, a more, lack of better, like quiet brain, not so like fast, fast, fast all the time.
Overwhelmed.
Yeah, and part of that too, it has to do with like social media and like the fast pace of it all. Like
Mhm.
yesterday, like a huge bombshell will drop, and then the next day everyone forgets about it. We're on to the next thing, and it's so fast. There's no slowing down. So what helped me a lot was disconnecting completely from social media. I deleted all my apps. I didn't go to parties. I didn't drink. I didn't do anything that would potentially cause chaos and disturb my peace for like 6 months straight. Changed my life for the better. Like, and I believe if anyone, I believe for me, the chaos was a lot. It was really intense. So I needed to make a radical, intense decision to like, let me let go of all of this. And man, was that one of the best decisions I had ever made in my entire life.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah, and I spend more time with family, not on my phone. I went with friends, and we didn't have to party to like actually connect with each
Mm.
other. We actually sat down and talked like this, and
Yeah.
it was wow. And many more on that. But yes, that has been what my journey on seeking peace has been.
I had a I've talked about this on the podcast before, but it was like I learned that the reason why peace, happiness is all grounded in the present, and it's like too much future thinking is
Mhm.
anxiety, and too much past is depression.
Mhm.
And so all of the positive emotions, or at least most of them, are rooted in the present, and that's why being centered and grounding yourself physically and
Mhm.
metaphorically always gives you more happiness. I had this other quote. I don't know if you had thoughts on it, but it was from a book I read. It was like, peace is happiness at rest, and happiness is peace in motion. I think that was really
Mm.
cool.
That's really good.
So it's a way to approach it, because some people want happiness,
Yeah.
and this author was like, "Well, I actually just want peace, but I also realize that peace and happiness are kind of two sides of the same coin.
Mhm.
Meaning, like, if you pursue peace, it can also turn into happiness
It
just in
can.
emotion. But also, like, if you, I don't know if you had a definition for a difference between peace and joy, and
Yeah.
then also how does one find peace? But you probably already talked about that.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Like, so with the happiness thing, like I believe you can have happiness without peace, but you can't have peace. Wait, wait, wait. You can have peace and happiness comes along, but you can have happiness without peace
Mm-mm.
because you can feel joy. Like, oh, look, I
Like in the moment, doing stuff with a lot of chaos.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. So I do believe that like peace, or happiness can happen with or without peace. But yeah, peace will definitely bring happiness, man. It'll bring calmness. It'll bring yeah, especially if you've had a very chaotic life. But wait, I'm sorry. What was the second part of that?
It was just my last real question was like
Yeah.
the difference between peace and joy. Sometimes people
Oh,
grapple with that. Sometimes
yeah.
they're synonyms, but sometimes they're different.
I'd say so. Joy is more of way more of a feeling, and something I've learned to like feelings and like emotions. They're physiological for 90 seconds. Then
Mm.
after that, it's all mental. So with peace, I believe that's just pure mental state.
So what about happiness and joy? I guess maybe not peace and joy, but happiness
Oh,
and joy.
happiness and joy.
Right. So you're
Mm.
saying joy is an emotion, but what is happiness then?
Well, I always substitute happiness because I know when people say I want to pursue like happiness for the rest of my life,
Mhm.
I know that they genuinely mean fulfillment
Right.
or like
Like
meaningfulness.
this is what you mean, even they're saying happiness. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
So at least for me, whenever I hear happiness, I think fulfillment. But because if you want to do happy and joy, that's synonymous with feeling for me. Like
Mm,
they're both just or
I see.
they're synonymous and they're both just a feeling.
Makes sense.
So yeah. But if like fulfillment and joy, I mean, yeah, fulfillment that's long lasting. That's genuine taking.
That's like deeper.
Yeah, that goes way, way, way deeper than joy. Joy, you can feel. Oh, look, you can feel it gambling. I mean, you can feel it. Yeah, you can feel that wherever.
That's called euphoria.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's even better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you can feel like just having a fun joke or laughing at something. That's joy. But fulfillment, it's like it takes years and years of like willing to put in effort to attain and working on yourself and working towards something, building towards something. And to me completely. And joy comes along with that too. I think it has to pretty much do with what your quote said. I think your quote was pretty much spot on.
Peace and happiness.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was really really spot on. That happiness and joy will come along the ride of like peace and
Oh,
fulfillment. Yeah.
makes sense.
Hmm.
Okay, Ozzy, we have to wrap it up now, but I
Yes.
feel like we can go on for hours.
Yeah, we
Great. It's
can.
a good thing. So maybe part three if it's in the cards. All right, let's wrap it up. So, ending questions, gratitude, Ozzy. What are you grateful for?
Well, I'm sorry. What was that last part you said?
What are you grateful for?
Grateful for. Oh my
Yeah,
gosh, that's
gratitude.
great. Yeah. I'm grateful for I mean, the life I have right now, the fact that I'm able to, talk to you, especially again after all these years and grateful for having this space and having a wonderful relationship with my friends, family and my girlfriend as well. Um yeah, I'm grateful for all the opportunities that I've been experiencing as of lately. So, thank you so
Yeah,
much. I
of
really
course.
appreciate it.
Yeah, and thank you for being here. Any final ask from the audience or takeaways you'd like them to have?
Let's see. Never, never, ever stop educating yourself. Your brain loves to learn. When it stops learning, it gets sad. So
Mm,
feed your brain some education. Maybe watch some more 1000 Gurus. There's a lot to learn here.
I
So
agree.
much to learn.
Wow, thank you. I totally agree with that.
Hmm.
Definitely like, subscribe, follow, whatever you guys do. Leave in the
Yeah,
comments. Well, any feedback, I appreciate it.
that would be awesome.
And then, yeah, feel free to shout out Hazi and leave him some love in the comments too.
Yes. Follow me as well, I
Yeah, yeah.
guess.
So we'll link all your socials and everything,
Cool, cool,
so
cool.
they can check out what you're up to and all that stuff. You have a
Yes.
lot of different channels.
Hmm.
So, all right. If nothing else, Hazi, then I'll sign off. Thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate it. Again, like, subscribe, follow, comment, everything. Let us know what you liked about it at all. And reminder to always be kind to other people, especially
Always.
yourself. and you can
Mhm.
always learn something from someone if you take the time to listen. So thanks for being here.
Facts, man.